Hello, everybody. Welcome back with another episode of Small Girls, Big God. We're ready to start First King chapter 6. We're gonna see how Solomon finalizes the building of the temple. At the beginning, I'll be honest, I was just like complaining as I was reading this section because I was like, why do I care about all these dimensions and all these width and length and windows? Like, what importance does it have to be? But then I got convicted, and then I was like, wow, Melina, you cannot read the section on where God's glory is about to reside and his presence and his majesty, and you're complaining about reading this section. I got convicted, and I was like, oh, okay, you know what? If it's in the Bible, it's here for a reason. So let's break this down together and let's make this understandable, okay? That's my goal with everybody here, to making this study understandable, and we're going to get through it together, okay? So picking up from 1 Kings 6 from the NIV version, and it's titled Solomon Builds the Temple. In the 418th year after the Israelites came out of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Siv, the 2nd month, he began to build the temple of the Lord. The temple that King Solomon built for the Lord was 60 cubits long, 20 wide, and 30 high. The portico at the front of the main hall of the temple extended the width of the temple, that is 20 cubits, and projected 10 cubits from the front of the temple. He made narrow windows high up in the temple walls. Against the walls of the main hall and the inner sanctuary, he built a structure around the building in which there were side rooms. The lowest floor was 5 cubits wide, the middle floor 6 cubits, and the third floor 7. He made offset ledges around the outside of the temple so that nothing would be inserted into the temple walls. In building the temple, only blocks dressed at the quarry were used, and no hammer, shield, or any other iron tool was heard at the temple site while it was built. So I just want to stop right there, because something that I watched in another YouTuber was something very interesting, and it was in verse 7, and it's in building the temple only blocks dressed at the quarry were used. So that means basically that not any type of tool was utilized. Basically what I learned, it was that no human-made tool was utilized to build the temple of the Lord. So that's kind of crazy, because not only are they back in the days when there's like no technology, and however they did the construction, I don't know any about construction, so if you can help me out, always comment below. But the thing is it was so special, even with the tools that they must use to build the temple. It was very strict, because that was like to represent the sanctification of the place and the holiness. So I'm going to take you to Deuteronomy 27:5, and it says this: build there an altar to the Lord your God, an altar of stone. Do not use any iron tools of them. Significance of the holiness of building the temple. It could not be any type of tools, because it was for the Lord. It was its majesty, its glory, its divineness. So yes, I'm just highlighting that. We're going on. We're picking up from 8. The entrance of the lowest floor was on the south side of the temple. A stairway led up to the middle level, and from there to the third. So he built the temple and completed it, roofing it with beams and cedar planks. He built the side rooms all along the temple. The height of each was 5 cubits, and they were attached to the temple by the beams of the cedar. The word of the Lord came to Solomon. As for this temple you are building, if you follow my decrees, observe my laws, and keep all my commands and obey them, I will fulfill through you the promises I gave to David your father, and I will live among the Israelites and will not abandon my people Israel. So, hold on. That is a highlight. I even highlighted it in my Bible. What do I mean by a highlight? Okay, this is the Lord speaking to Solomon directly and telling him, hey, if you're not only building my temple, but once you complete it, once you accomplish this task and follow my decrees, observe my laws, and keep all my commands and obey them, I will reside in there. My glory will be in that temple. So that is very honorable. That is, wow, God's glory will be there. That is the most wanted desire for these people, No longer would I need to go somewhere, let's say to a trip to go find, I believe it's called the Shekinah glory or whatever. I should have said whatever, I'm sorry. But now there's going to be a place on where the Lord is going to live, because back in Moses' times, as they were like fighting in these wars, they will carry the Ark of the Covenant and they will bring the battle, like in David's time actually, they will take the Ark of the Covenant to travel God's glory. But now God is wanting like a temple to rest. I'm believing, this is just me coming up with that, but picking up from 14. So Solomon built the temple and completed it. He lined its interior walls with cedar borders, planting them from the floor of the temple to the ceiling, and covered the floor of the temple with planks of juniper. He partitioned off 20 cubits at the rear of the temple with cedar borders from the floor to the ceiling, to form within the temple inner sanctuary, the most holy place. Okay, so there we go. The most holy place. The main hall in front of the room was 40 cubits long. The inside of the temple was cedar, carved with gourds and open flowers. Everything was cedar. No stone was to be seen. Okay, so indication, no stone better be seen. This glorious place. He prepared the inner sanctuary within the temple to set the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord there. The inner sanctuary was 20 cubits long, 20 wide, and 20 high. He overlaid the inside with pure gold, and he also overlaid the altar of cedar. Solomon covered the inside of the temple with pure gold, and he extended gold chains across the front of the inner sanctuary, which was overlaid with gold. So he overlaid the whole interior with gold. He also overlaid with gold the altar that belonged to the inner sanctuary. So, stopping there again, we're talking about the Ark of the Covenant, right? And basically he's saying, even before bringing the Ark of the Covenant on where God's glory resides, I have to make this gold beautiful with the most precious metal out there. Gold is such a resemblance, and I've learned about gold this year specifically because I belong to a small Bible study group, and the home pastor, he has pressed on so hard about learning about gold because it's so important. So I'm going to pull my notes from there for I can share with you what I've learned with gold. Okay, so why is gold so important to God? You know, gold shines, right? And it's indestructible. There's different types of gold. You know, we have the 10 carat, we have the 14 carat, the 16, the 18, and the purest of all is the 24 carat. By the way, 2024. So here we are becoming pure for God. Gold can also resemble material wealth as well as spiritual wealth. Gold, as we are seeing right here, was utilized to construct a holy temple where God's glory will reside. And gold itself needs to go under, when you grab it from nature, it needs to go under a purification. You need to like basically melt it, right, to bring all the impurities out, because as you bring those impurities out, it's going to be in the surface, and that's how it's going to obtain its shine. And something that gold does is, like, let's say you had like a bar of 24 karat gold, right? When you look at that gold, it's going to resemble its refiner. So can you imagine that? And that's just beautiful. It reminds me of a song. I think it's called Make Me Pure as Gold. And there's a verse that says, purify my heart, make it like gold, or something like that, right? So very good. Maybe I'll put the link below so you can go worship on your personal time. Okay, so I just wanted to highlight that. Let's continue picking up from verse 23. For the inner sanctuary, he made a pair of cherubim out of olive wood, each 10 cubit high. One wing of the first cherubim was 5 cubits long, and the other wing 5 cubits, 10 cubits from wingtip to wingtip. The second cherubim also measured 10 cubits, for the 2 cherubim were identical in size and shape. The height of each cherubim was 10 cubits. He replaced the cherubim inside the innermost room of the temple with their wings spread out. The wings of one cherubim touched one wall, while the wing of another touched the other wall. The wings touched each other in the middle of the room. He overlaid the cherubim with gold. On the walls all around the temple, in both the inner and outer rooms, he carved cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers. He also covered the floors of both the inner and outer room of the temple with gold. So, you know, as they're describing this, there's an image coming to my head, and I believe I need to show it because I think this is what they're talking about. Because they're talking about the wings, and we're talking about gold, and then we talked about the Ark of the Covenant. This is what it actually looks like. You see? And you see those wings, and they're touching each other. So I'm thinking there's a reason why they're doing this, because this is where they're going to place the Ark of the Covenant. So we're going to continue. All right, picking up from 31. For the entrance to the inner sanctuary, he made the doors out of olive wood that were 1/5 of the width of the sanctuary. And on the 2 olive wood doors, he carved the cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers, and overlaid the cherubim and the palm trees with hammered gold. In the same way, for the entrance to the main hall, he made the door frames out of olive wood that were 1/4 of the width of the hall. He also made 2 doors out of the juniper wood, each having 2 leaves that turn in sockets. He carved the cherubim palm trees and opened the flowers on them and overlaid them with gold hammer evenly over the carvings. And he built the inner courtyard of the 3 courts of dressed stones and 1 course of the timber cedar beams. The foundation of the temple of the Lord was laid in the 4th year, in the month of Ziph, in the 11th year, in the month of Bul, the 18th month. The temple was finished in all its details according to its specification. He had spent 7 years building it. So that concludes 1 Kings 6. And I just want to point out verse 38. The very last sentence. He has spent 7 years building it. That just shows us Solomon's dedication. How the Lord presented himself to Solomon in verse 11 through 13. Saying, hey, you do what you got to do. I've built that temple for me. And if you follow my decrees, my commands, my law, and obey my ways, I will reside in that temple. Because David, your father, had that desire to build that temple, but he had a lot of blood in his hands. And I said, don't worry, my son. You're not going to be able to do it. But somebody from your loins, such as your son, will do it for me. So this just shows the dedication that Solomon put to allow the Lord's glory to reside in this place. So I'm wondering, as we're going to move on to chapter 7, if God's glory will finally be revealed here. So I'm looking forward. Thank you for staying tuned and doing this reading with me. I thought it was going to be a little bit boring, to be honest, but then I got convicted, and I'm glad I got convicted, because now I could see the fruit on why the Lord wants us to read about the building of his temple. Before I was just like, maybe I was just tired and it was not coming in, but it came in. Something that I found in one of my books that I utilize sometimes to have a better understanding, it's comparing the tabernacle to the temple. And basically, it's the dimensions of the tabernacle are much smaller than the temple. Unlike the tabernacle, the temple actually has windows, a porch, and it has dividers between 2 rooms. In the tabernacle, they only had a veil. However, in this temple now, we have a veil and doors. The tabernacle in the first books of the Old Testament, it resembled the ark with 2 cherubims. And in the temple, it's the ark and 2 cherubims separated. So hold on. We should definitely look what that cherubim means. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. Let me put this thing. How do you pronounce it?
Cherubim.
I hope you hear it.
Cherubim.
There we go. Alright, so what is a cherubim in the Bible? Let's see. Cherubim as angels of mercy, created by the tears of Michael, are not identified with the angels. Okay, no. I don't like the definition. That sounds sketchy. Okay, a cherubim is actually the highest angels near God. Oh, so when I was showing you that picture, let me show you that picture again. I'm not too crazy when I was showing you that picture. Okay. They're angelic figures repeatedly mentioned in the Bible. Okay. So we learned something new today. Well, Have a great day, guys. Thank you for staying tuned. Love you guys. Stay safe. Stay blessed.